Found the hardware. Alright, I should probably grease this up in here with some silicone because essentially these bolts act like slide pins. So, you know, need to make sure that that action is nice and smooth. Let's see if I can find some. I still have some silicone liner here. I'm sure I do. Yep, there it is. Synthetic grease. This stuff will work. But I probably shouldn't. Well, let's put a little on right now. We went through Russia. Just a little bit in here. Then I'll put the majority of it on the slide pin itself. But this just kind of helps things out a little bit. Let's get the parts diagram back out so I know I don't mess this stuff up. Maybe it's this one. No, that's not that. Never mind. What are those big bolts for then? This might be, oh yeah, that's, sorry. I was looking at what the difference is between these two bolts, and this one is the one that actually the caliper slides on, holds the caliper together. And this is the one that just holds the caliper onto the fork. Got it. Got it. Got him. Okay. It goes there. This goes in there. Okay. What? Bracket slid in.
Really fucks the shit out of me when I find my stuff all fucked up.
I know.
Yeah, you know, you never care. You're a bad roommate.
Here's an O-ring here. Looks like it's getting pushed out by something.
Oh boy. Come here, fuck shit up. You want to stay here? Or do you want to come with me? What do you want? You want to come with me? You want to come back up? Let's go.
Let's try and get this bolt on there, or this nut on there, finger tight. Should be good enough. Alright. That's that. This gets slid in. At least it should. Oh, don't tell me I have to go and do all that crap again. Yeah. There we go, okay. Let's do this guy. There we go. Okay. Make sure this settles in. Screw you tight. There's that. On there, this one floats. And that should be enough to get a... So there's one thing I forgot to do. I had this bracket. This fits behind the left side fender, because what this is going to allow you to do is, I believe this one is for the speedometer. Goes through there and there into there, and then that's for the brake. So little holder. I forgot that. I forgot to put that on, so I'm going to put it on right now. It's on there. Put the rear caliper back on. Let's see. Or the front caliper back on. Pretty easy. The bracket that sits in the middle of the caliper is what you screw into. So, not difficult. And you see it's moving nice and smooth. That's why you put on that that grease. Good action. All right, let's see if I can get this stuff a little bit more tight. I'd have to get an extension. But yeah, I'm gonna tighten these guys up now. The ones that I said I get fairly tight, and I'm gonna really tighten them up now. Let's get the lower brake line on here. It goes through this guy. Top bends in this way, and I think I need to find some more banjo bolts, because I don't know where they all went. And then this one comes up and hits. Let's see if you can see it. Threads in right like that. Right in there, into that junction. And that's how that goes. Alright, the rear for the lower brake hose is connected. Now it's this junction here. We're going to do the upper, the one that actually connects to the master cylinder. So again, there's a little notch in the junction that's going to allow you to put the hose in there, and it's not going to wobble around, so that you can actually get it tightened up as tight as you need it to be. And let's go on here. All these guys get put on with 14mm sockets. Alright, let's put on the master cylinder. I'm just going to kind of lightly put this in place because I don't know yet exactly where I'm going to put it. Like, I need to obviously put the throttle back on here in order to place it correctly, but you know, moving it a few millimeters left or right is not going to be the end of the world. Bleeding brakes used to be an enormous pain in my ass, but I got that Mighty back. Now it's not so bad. So this is a completely dry system, so what I did is I cracked open the lower bleeder, and I'm just going to start feeding in brake fluid from the master cylinder. Just going to pump it until we start seeing some stuff coming out of the lower bleeder. This may take a little bit of time. I found a slimmer tube in the shop, and I hooked that up, so I think now I'm going to get good suction. Yeah, now I got good suction. So, just going to keep pumping away on the back, and opening and closing the master cylinder. Alright, so I finally started getting some fluid coming out of that lower line there. So what I'm looking for here is eventually to have the fluid that's coming out to be like 100% solid. Like, you see how there's a little bit of, you know, air bubbles in there? We're going to work to get those out. So let's get the back going. When you're doing this, keep a close eye on your master cylinder's fluid level, because if it drops down to where it sucks in air, you're basically just starting from scratch. As you can see, there's still a lot of air in here. It's going to need a little bit more help. And just imagine that this probably took me around 5 minutes to get the fluid to start coming out of the bottom there. It'd be a whole lot longer if you didn't have the Mighty back. Okay, so let's add a little bit more on top. going to use a decent amount of this stuff because, you know, like I said before, it's got to fill in all that chamber down in there with fluid. So you can also see that the fluid's starting to get clear, which is awesome because it means that it's kind of cleaning itself out. Before, the fluid was like disgusto, like brownish, reddish, bad stuff. Now it's looking pretty good. At least the fluid coming out of there is clear. Only took about a minute more, but now we got, I'm gonna turn the suction off. Now we got just fluid coming out. And you notice there's still a bubble here and there, but we're actually gonna work that out from the top. That's where I want this to go. So now we're gonna try to not take the hose off here because that'll introduce air back into the system, and we're just gonna tighten this guy back up. Cool. Now we're gonna work the remainder of the bubbles out, and we're also gonna test to make sure that these brakes are actually working, and they are. Cool. So these guys are pretty well bled. It's one thing I want to do just to get all the remaining itty bitty little bubbles out, and that is, first of all, just to test to make sure that the brakes actually work. Yep, they work. Now, just to get the remaining little bubbles out, a little trick that I learned is light little taps. Actually, here, I'll show you. Let's see if I can't even. Oh, there we go. Is that light taps on the master cylinder here work up little bubbles. They just do that little by little, and then a big pull, and then little goes like that, big pull, and that usually works out the remaining little bubbles in the system, but I'm not seeing any of that, so I think we're good. And then once you're done, obviously top off the master cylinder, tighten it back up, and check for brake feel. If you're happy with it, then you're done. I'm happy, so I'm done. And obviously check for leaks in the system down here, the junctions, at the master cylinder, all that. Alright, let's get the speedo cable back on there. The only reason why I want to do is that I've just been looking at it and it's been bothering me that it's there. So, you know, just friggin' get it done. Why not? No reason not to. So, I'm gonna put this whole deal back in. There's the O-ring. Kind of need that. Okay, stay. Good. So I'm gonna get this in here and I'm gonna wiggle it around until I feel it catch in there, because there is a gearing in there. Oh, there it is. There it is, yeah. Bolts that on there. There's a screw and a bracket too. Yep, there it is. Just helps hold it in place. I've just been getting stuff done. Wiring harness is getting put back in. I'm just putting things back where they need to be. Rear fender's up and running, but it kind of, if you can see, it kind of favors the left a little bit. It's definitely been in an accident. The tail light kind of pulls to the left, so I'm just gonna pen on this bracket a little bit and get it to, you know, go back to where it's supposed to be. You know, just putting all the stuff back together. Rear brake is getting hooked up, looking good. I need to get 2 springs, 1 spring to connect from that post to that post on the rear brake, so that once you push down on the rear brake, it, you know, there's some tension, it returns. And also this little hole right here connects to the rear brake switch right here, and it's another itty bitty little spring. And basically, when the brake gets depressed, it pulls down on the rear brake switch, which will turn the brake lights on. Big issue right now is what I'm supposed to do with the rear turn signals, because the ones I got are Chinese and they don't have, their post here isn't long enough to go through both these inlets into the fender, because what the rear turn signals do on this bike, they also help reinforce the fender so that it doesn't flex. So what I'm probably gonna have to end up doing is just getting some stock turn signals and ponying up the money. That's all I can really do. But yeah, that's it. I'm loosely putting this stuff together because I'm still figuring out how I'm gonna route all this stuff, but it'll kind of figure itself out. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Oh yeah, and I also got a new rear foot peg in, or right side foot peg. It isn't favoring the left like the other one did, because the other one was in an accident. So now it's doing what it's supposed to. So things are moving along.